it is Lisa. Thought I'd show you my cover methodology, or how I make my journal covers. And this is actually the same general strategy that I use for most covers. Not all of them do I use kind of this pre-stamped out. So this is again an Eileen Hudson, I think it is, Sizzix die, cuts out a journal page, and I'll save up. This is a Cheez-It box. Maybe you can see it here. Save these up and use them to make covers. I recently learned that I should actually put the whatever it is that I'm making the cover with directly on the box and then run it through to get better cuts, which I have not been doing. And I use this cover somewhat frequently because it's nice and easy and I like the elastic binding. But I don't always do that. My original journals, and probably most of my journals that I've made in years before, this is like, I think, an ice cream sandwich box. And I just use that where the box folds, cut off the excess, right, and use that cardboard. But same, again, general methodology that I'm going to show you, regardless of the cover, if I'm using these types of like cereal boxes or Cheez-It boxes or what have you. So this is actually the last of my this acrylic gesso. It's gotten a little bit thick over time. It's a little bit pasty, but that's okay. I might have some new white gesso that I'm going to be trying out soon, that I picked up because I knew this was at the end of the jar here. You could also use a clear gesso, but I find the clear gesso is a little bit more expensive. I like to save it for if I'm going to gesso a book page or some music page, something like that, where I want to see what's through it. These, sometimes, depending on the paper, you can see the pattern through of the product. And I wanted to make sure I wasn't seeing the pattern through it, so I like the white gesso. But I'll start at the beginning. So I'll take the box, as I said, I'll size it and cut it to fit in the cutter, in the Eileen Hudson cutter, and run it through. I have a Sizzix, it's not a Sizzix, a Spellbinders Platinum that I use, but any die cutter would work. I don't think the die is available new anymore. Like I said, it's been years. The one thing to note, I'll show you the back. This box is a little bit thinner, and that die is one of those thick Biggs dies, and sometimes it will actually cut right through instead of just doing a score line when I'm doing something that's a little bit thinner. And that's what happened here. So I put some of this like surgical tape or whatever I guess you call it on here to hold it together. And actually what I probably should do, because this piece is also, you can see, kind of coming out. And what I did on this one was I actually cut it in half and moved it so that I could cover both of them. And that'll hold the cover really well. And once everything's kind of attached and down, it should be okay. Or maybe it won't be. But I'm going to say it will be. I think I've had this happen before. This tape usually works wonders. But once I cut it, then these boxes, they usually have like a almost waxy kind of paint coating, ink, whatever it is. And so I'll use just a rough grade sandpaper and sand it down. So that's what you see here. That's why this is kind of marked up. I'll sand it down a little bit, gives it some tooth. And then I use the acrylic gesso over the top. So I start with this, sand it down, dust all of that off. And then I do the gesso. As I said, this is 2 coats. This is 1 coat. So it kind of goes, you know, here to here to here. I want to just show you how I do my gesso. So again, I think I let it sit on here while I was getting set up, which is my own fault. You don't have to do a lot, so know that. Less in a couple coats is usually better. Now I got this brush from, I think, Temu. And I really like it for this. I like it if I'm using Tim Holtz Collage Medium. I think it's really good also. This is a Ranger craft mat underneath here. So the paint will wipe right off even if it gets dry. So I love it for that. Then I don't have to put like another piece of paper or something like that down, although I could. But yeah, I really like this brush for this. And you can see, I'll show you in a second here, once I get, let's kind of paint it up a little more with the gesso. All right, so now you can't see the Cheez-It on there as well. All right, let that dry, call it good. Try to make sure I don't have any big kind of gesso paint chunks in there. This has a couple chunks I'm just trying to work out. But this one you can see it's just the score line, right? This one didn't cut through, even though it seems almost as thick, but just sometimes for whatever reason, like I said, it'll cut through. Okay, and then I just let that dry. Now with the gesso, again, depending on the thickness of gesso, the type of gesso, you can use a few different things if you don't have a nice brush like this. Gift card works really well. Or you could use something a little bit thicker. This is, I think, a paint spreader that would work. In fact, let's just give it a shot here. So again, less is more. And let's just see what happens here. Yeah, that works pretty good. So if you didn't like brush strokes, this is kind of another option. I find though that, well, this has got this weird kind of edge on it, which isn't as helpful as I might like here. Maybe I need to use that side. This other side has a little bit of a lip on it, so it's catching the paint. Yeah, this might not be the best choice for this, just because I feel like there's a lip on here and it's catching it. So gift cards usually work really good. Again, once you put a nice thin, I like to use it this way because I get a little more flex in it. But again, up to you. If you like the flexiness or not. Right, you get a nice thin coat, again without any brush strokes. And there are some people I see that do glue this way, collage medium this way, paint this way. This is their preferred tool. I really do like my big, like probably 75-cent brush that I have for this personally, but I just wanted to show you how you can use other things. All right, so again, not my favorite. I'm gonna take that off. That was just an old, I think, Hobby Lobby gift card from a Christmas or two ago. Right, and then just, it ends up getting a little more probably on my desk, but again, that wipes right off that craft mat. Get that painted down. The other thing that's always tricky is that your fingers might stick into the gesso. I get that a lot. I used to be really fussy about that, and I gesso half, let it dry, and do the other half. Over time, I've gotten much less fussy about all of that. And this, because this gesso is so old and kind of thick, it's drying really fast and almost thicker than what I want, but that is what it is. Let me just get this one finished real quick, and then I'll kind of show you what I'm going to do for these two. I'm a big fan of covers. I do like making the signatures too, but the signatures, I don't know. I'm kind of a cover person, I guess. The signatures always seem like they take so long and they hide inside there. Right, so it's hard for me to kind of gauge how many I need. I like to sew them and stuff, so they end up being like little mini covers, just a lot of work. It's not that I don't like to make them. It's just that they end up making the journal take so long. And there are lots of people who don't do that. Again, they make just put their energy into the cover, and then their signatures are really pretty basic, which is totally fine too. That's just about the end of this gesso. I'm just gonna put it back over here, but I don't think I have too much left of that. And then I'll show you what my next step will be here. Knocking stuff over here off camera that you can't see. Okay. So I have some, again, this is Tim Holtz. I'm going to be careful of this wet gesso over here. It's Tim Holtz fabric that I got. fat quarters, maybe. I'm not sure. I got it from somebody on Etsy. They had a variety of the patterns. And I've put it on the back of like a sizing that you can iron. It actually looks like it's getting a little bit loose. I like to do this just because if it's on here tight enough, which this again, I think I've got to iron it in a couple spots, but it gives it a little more thickness. And then when I glue it, I don't have the chance of the glue, or much less chance if I do just a thin layer of glue, of it soaking through to the cover. So it helps kind of protect the fabric from soaking through. This one, just because of the way the cover's laid out, I'm going to have to do it front cover, back cover, and again, assemble it, cut it here. Otherwise, it's going to cut this off, right? Or that would be the back, which I don't want. I want that to kind of be the front, I think. I'll have to think about it. This is cool too, so maybe I'll change my mind. I want that to be the front. The other one is a little bit less pressure as to where the front and back is, as it's virtually this kind of same seamless pattern. Again, this is on that. This one is definitely ironed on better, so the other one I have to go back and turn the iron back on. Ooh, I think I did just stick this in gesso. Yep. Well, it adds to the texture, right? So, all right, so don't do that. But that's kind of the start of these covers. The insides, I'll probably use just a scrapbook paper. Could use fabric again, but I probably won't. I like to save my fabric for the outside. And I typically use scrapbook paper for the inside. I've also used printouts, like this is a journal kit, right? And this is just the journal kit printout. I think this was also printed out from that journal kit. So lots of options for covers. These ones are going to be fabric, but you can do almost anything. So there you go. There's my kind of starting tips for journal covers.